region, it could be in the GTA area. So looking for capacity as.
It's not just here in our area. This problem is playing out across Canada. The question now is, should we be masking up again? Julia Wong reports.
Jasmine Murphy is lining up at the walk-in clinic before it opens, so her sick son can see a doctor.
He's had a fever for a couple days now, and he had it last week, and we thought it broke, and back again this week.
The Edmonton woman says it seems like everyone is getting sick.
We're definitely going to get our kids to mask back up, and hopefully that'll help with this flu and cold season right now.
The number of cases of kids with respiratory syncytial virus, or RSV, is surging. COVID-19 is still hammering hospitals, and nationally, the number of flu cases is rising steeply, according to the Public Health Agency of Canada. And if test positivity remains stubbornly high, an influenza epidemic will be declared by the federal government.
We're looking at an earlier rise in our peak of both influenza infections as well as hospitalizations. It's about a 3-week shift.
That shift in timeline means Canadians could be in for a tough winter, Kelvin says.
We might have a more prolonged respiratory virus season when usually we really had to worry in that mid-December range.
Once we drop some of these public health measures like mandates for masking and social distancing, etc., that kind of is going to set us up for kind of a tidal wave.
Concerns over that tidal wave prompted Toronto's Board of Health to ask the city's medical officer of health to explore bringing back mask mandates, starting with schools.
Well, my son's immunocompromised, so we're for it.
I think as a parent of a young child, I wouldn't go that route.
It would work with getting the virus away, but it would be difficult because it's just not fun wearing masks.
With growing worries over the healthcare system,
ready for the second.
The Prime Minister is driving home the importance of vaccinations, getting his COVID booster and his flu shot at the same time.
It's really important that we all keep up to date as the weather's getting colder, as we know flu season's kicking in, runny noses, keeping ourselves safe, keeping our friends safe.
Safe, as flu season is only just beginning. Julia Wong, CBC News, Edmonton.
Switching to another kind of surge, Windsor is seeing a ton of construction projects, and with them, a lot of job openings. But as Del Molnar reports, there are way more jobs out there than people to fill them.
There you go.
Public Safety Minister Marco Mendicino was at the Leuna Construction Trades Training Center Tuesday to promote funding for job skills, announced in last week's fall economic statement. When it comes to construction jobs, there are thousands out there, but not enough people to fill them.
We have a tremendous shortage of people right across Ontario, and we've heard our local building trades leaders say that we could put 20 to 30,000 people to work tomorrow if we had them.
Now, even though there are thousands of jobs in the construction industry in Windsor, Essex, the Windsor unemployment rate is still 8.5%. And that's because the folks at Workforce Windsor, Essex say not everyone's cut out for this kind of work.
They're looking for the right kind of applicant, someone who's got, aptitude and sort of working with their hands and, has an interest in this as a career.
So Workforce Windsor Essex has partnered with the Provincial Building and Construction Trades Council of Ontario in getting people retrained for the construction industry. The Tomorrow's Trades program is a 12-week course for adults with at least a high school education. Every week they get hands-on experience with a different trade, such as masonry, welding, and carpentry. After this, they can walk into an apprenticeship program with a trade union.
A lot of them were unemployed, some of them were on assistance, and other ones were working in jobs where there was really no future for them, or financially they couldn't afford to keep working in these jobs.
Sherry Marshall was tired of the minimum wage cleaning job she had.
It means a lot to me. I actually enjoy the stonework, so I actually want to get into the masonry part of it.
Actually, this program have different things to do. So for me, I'm interested in carpentry, so that's why I was interested in.
Every trade is booming right now. That's all we've heard, is that we can't get people fast enough. We need people. So it's a wonderful opportunity to get hands-on training.
This is the third group of 12 people taking advantage of the course this year. 24 people have already gone through in 2 separate groups this summer. The Building and Construction Trades Council is working to get provincial funding to continue with more training next year. Dale Molnar, CBC News, Windsor.
The midterm elections in the United States did not produce the Republican triumph that many analysts and pundits had expected. But which party will control the House of Representatives and the Senate? That's still unclear. The final results are still days or even weeks away. But many Democrats are celebrating.
Every county, every vote. Every county, every vote. And that's exactly what happened. We jammed them up. We held the line.
The Democrats scored an important win in Pennsylvania, where the state's Lieutenant Governor, John Fetterman, defeated TV personality Dr. Oz. That converted a critical Senate seat that had been held by the Republicans. Another important race is in Georgia, where Democratic Senator Raphael Warnock is trying to retain his seat against former football star Herschel Walker. Neither candidate managed the minimum 50% of the vote required for a win, so that contest will go to a runoff next month. Arizona and Nevada have also not finalized their results. In Michigan, Democratic Governor Gretchen Whitmer secured a second term last night and a big win for access to abortion rights across the state. For more on how the election played out, I'm joined by Jerome Vaughn, the news director at WDET in Detroit. Thanks so much for doing this.
Glad to be with you.
Jerome, abortion was a key issue this election. It was literally on the ballot. And last night, voters enshrined abortion rights in the state constitution. Talk us through the significance.
Well, it's huge. The issues had so many ripples. Democrats looked like they were going to have a lot of trouble in this election, not just in Michigan, but around the country. But when the U.S. Supreme Court issued the Dobbs ruling overturning Roe versus Wade, Democrats and independents around the state and around the country really got up in arms around the idea of reproductive rights and women's right to control their own bodies. And so that really issued this great push of enthusiasm and networking and getting out the vote to really help propel Governor Whitmer to victory. She had a large role in trying to make sure that an old 1931 abortion ban in Michigan didn't go back into place, which would have been very restrictive for women seeking abortion rights. And so that really helped propel her campaign leading up to last night's victory.
And Michigan is sometimes described as a purple state, and the political divides across the United States, they seem to be growing bigger. But the Democrats really dominated in Michigan. What is the political climate like today, post-election, in your state?
Still very divided, still very partisan. There were some national issues that played into what happened in Michigan. I think for Republicans, they thought they were going to have a huge red wave. That's how they describe it across the country. They thought they were going to win back the Senate and the U.S. House. The wave did not really happen that way. And so it's very close as far as who's going to control the U.S. Congress. But that trickled down to what was happening in Michigan. Part of the reason for that was President Trump supported several candidates on the Republican side. They tended to be weaker candidates with some real issues. That hampered the Republican Party. I think the other thing is the Democrats had a strong message, and they spent a lot of money on television. Anybody who watched any of the Detroit television stations over the past couple of months will know they saw hundreds of campaign commercials, and that had an impact as well.
Thanks so much for your time today, Jerome.
Glad to be with you anytime.
Jerome Vaughn is the news director at WDET in Detroit. Breaking news this hour, the city of Windsor is ending its COVID-19 vaccination mandate. It was introduced by council in September 2021. Staff had until January to show proof of a first dose and then until February to show proof of a second dose. 104 people were fired because they did not get vaccinated against COVID-19 or they refused to show proof of vaccination. Some of those employees are now suing the city over their dismissal. Starting today, new hires will not need to provide proof of vaccination. The city is saying, quote, "The risk of serious illness to staff is significantly reduced, so it's time to move forward." That decision made during this city council's final meeting. 3 councillors are saying goodbye. Our Jason Vio interviewed each one today, asking them about the legacy they leave behind and for their advice to the people taking over their seats for the next term.
After a by-election win and 2 years on council, Ward 7 Jiwon Gil hopes he left his mark. Tonight, his final moments in this chair. His name replaced with Angelo Marignani, who beat him by more than 10% of the vote.
It is a very exciting moment. Even it is my last meeting, but I feel proud what I did in last 2 years.
A big point of pride, Gil says, bringing a new perspective to council.
To be seen outside that box too, like, okay, this is a minority person comes in and diverse person, the way of thinking is different. If I can look into that one, what the things are I looked into back home or other countries, that is, you bring it in on the table to discuss about that to find a solution.
His accomplishments include improvements to Banwell Road and Sandpoint Beach and new tennis and pickleball courts. Gil says he's not ruling out another political run in the future, but for now he'll focus on being a realtor. For one of his last times inside City Hall as Ward 3 councillor, Reno Bordelin says reflecting on the last 8 years brought up many emotions. He made the decision to not seek re-election to spend more time with his family. There isn't one thing he's most proud of, but rather his approach on different issues.
It was the putting people at the center of all the decisions.
During the last 4 years, he says he sat on a lot of tough boards, including police, the health unit, and the public library. Looking ahead, though, Bordelin will be watching the dynamic of council.
It's really about bringing the residents' voice to the table. And so if it takes a different shape in this next 4 years, and if issues come forward in a different way where maybe it's not as adversarial, then that's a great win. So, we always have to be prepared for people doing it different. And I think you're going to see different approaches from all the new councillors.
Bordelin didn't hint what's next for him, but did say he'll continue to be an advocate for the downtown.
I'm not going away, so to speak.
And less time around the council table for Chris Holt, perhaps more time around the pub tables at his Ford City Brewery, and with his family, Holt gave up his Ward 4 seat and ran for mayor, losing to Drew Dilkins last month.
I'm not going away. They'll see me at the delegation table fighting for good, proper transportation, land use, and investment within the Ford City neighborhood.
Holt says a legacy he wants to leave behind is his focus on what he calls building community.
I've really put the focus on our core neighborhoods. And I think that's something that wouldn't have happened unless I was elected to council in 2014. I have zero regrets when it comes to anything that I've done around the council table.
As for some of those heated debates simmering on council, or division as some call it, Holt says those discussions ultimately led to a better decision. The inauguration ceremony for members of the next city council will be on Tuesday, and the first official council meeting with the new council is on November 28th. Jason Vio, CBC News, Windsor.
A young man from Kingsville got the birthday gift of his dreams last night. He's a big fan of the Montreal Canadiens, and they beat the Red Wings last night in Detroit. But watching his team win in a shootout was just part of his big day. Tanner Harrison brought a homemade sign asking for something special.
Well, it was a checklist of my birthday wish. I wanted to watch a hockey game with my dad. I wanted to watch the Montreal Canadiens play, and I got to see Cole Caulfield, which is my favorite. And my final wish was to get a hockey stick from him, and I got the hockey stick. It was really special to get the stick after he got the goal. I'm still in shock that I got it.
The special part was just seeing the excitement of him, right? So you could see it come and start to happen, and then he threw it over the boards, and when he got it, the excitement he had in his face was just, I'll remember that forever. The whole section was rooting for him to get that.
Yeah, the entire time. Every time Caulfield got on the ice, it's like waving up the sign saying, "Give me the stick, Caulfield!" So when I finally got it, it was like my reward. So with the stick, I've been woodworking all summer, so I'm gonna build a shadow box for it, and I also have a Cole Caulfield sign puck, so I'll put it in the case with it and hang it up in my bedroom.
That is awesome. Happy birthday, Tanner. Let's take a live look outside there. We had another gorgeous day with a high of 16 degrees, and then tomorrow it's going to be even warmer. Colette Kennedy will have your weather forecast right after the break. Stay with us. Colette Kennedy joins us now for a look at our weather forecast. Colette, we had a beautiful day, but before we launch into weather, I want to first show you a really cool photo that was sent in to us by Steve Bureau. So he snapped this lunar halo last night over Windsor. So beautiful. Colette, what would cause something like this?
Yeah, and it's at the angle here, or the radius rather, is like 22 degrees. So what happens, and these actually happen, quite a bit. And what's going on is the light from the moon is being refracted through ice crystals. And those ice crystals are essentially high, thin cirrus cloud. And so as the light is bent or refracted, we get that effect. So very cool.
That is awesome.
Really nice image too. So good of him to send that to us.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Steve, and thanks, Colette.
Yeah, and now we've got that's very calming and quiet and beautiful. We have something kind of the other side of the spectrum to start looking at, because Tropical Storm Nicole has become a hurricane here, just 1 kilometer over the threshold in terms of the wind speed, but still pushing across the Bahamas and headed towards the east coast of Florida. And I'm going to get to why this is important, not just because maybe you're going there or you have friends or family there, but why it becomes important for southwestern Ontario. As a Category 1, likely moving inland, but really, really broad in terms of the wind field and the span of the rain bands as well. So as it comes across land, all the way by Friday afternoon, it's making haste up the eastern seaboard, but inland enough that as it comes closer to us, and we've got a frontal system that's coming towards us as well from the other direction, yeah, it looks like some of this rain will push in for Friday. Now, the heavy stuff appears to be still further off towards the east, but it is definitely worth noting. So look at the current temperatures. Obviously a mild, lovely day today. We're looking at another one tomorrow because that ridge of high pressure is still having the influence on our weather, but as it kind of slides off to the east and leaves us, that's what's opening the door for these other systems to move in. So nothing to concern yourself about tonight. Quiet conditions again, mostly clear skies. As we get that southwesterly flow kicking up even more, mild through the overnights, but darn right warm through the daytime, and even into Friday, still temperatures well above seasonal. So here comes that front. I was hoping it would push out all the remnants of Nicole. That's what you're seeing here at the bottom of your screen, but it looks like at least some of these bands will tag through, and of course with Remembrance Day services, the timing on that's really important. I would expect maybe at least clouds and some light showers from Windsor towards about Chatham, Kent, and beyond that we could see in the afternoon some heavier rains developing, especially for the Niagara region. So something to note for Friday. And although temperatures mild tonight, something else to note is how it's going to change as we go towards the weekend. So you see these readings over the next few days, and then how the temperatures, especially at night, really drop off as we get into the weekend.
Yeah, fall is really going to kick in for real, I guess.
Yeah, like it's going to feel late fall, like maybe even towards winter a little bit.
Okay, thanks for that, Colette.
You're welcome.
When we come back, we're going to take you to Thailand for a spectacular light show. Stay with us. There was a spectacular light show in the skies over northern Thailand last night. Thousands of lanterns were released into the skies to celebrate the Thai Festival of Lights. The event is meant to be a symbol of letting go of misfortunes and welcoming good luck in the coming year. About 8,000 people were on hand this year, many traveling from around the world to attend. The spectacular show in the skies was matched by one on the ground involving tree trunk boats decorated with flowers and candles. People launched them into rivers or lakes as a gesture to float away misfortune and ask forgiveness for any wrongdoing. Music memorabilia collectors, take note. Many valuable items will be going up for auction this week in New York. Among the treasure trove of artifacts is a pair of glasses worn by John Lennon. The late musician's specs are expected to fetch more than $80,000 US. Also up for grabs is a guitar that Nirvana frontman Kurt Cobain played, signed, and smashed. And there are also items from many other big names, including Madonna, Cher, Amy Winehouse, and Eddie Van Halen. That is it for CBC Windsor News. For news anytime, go to our website, cbc.ca/Windsor. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.